What's up, everybody? Hope y'all are doing good. So, y'all, I know a lot of y'all probably know this, but I am on my second marriage now, and I'm only 30 years old. That's kind of, I feel like that's kind of a lot of change at such a young age to have already went through two marriages, but here I am. And it's not something that I don't really tell people much. I'm not ashamed of it, but I guess I'm not proud of it either. It's not something that I really just go around telling people, talk about my previous marriage and really throw out like a lot of my personal life. Um, but, going through one divorce already, the lessons that I learned about love and about relationships, I am so much smarter and so much wiser than I was before I was married the first time. Um, and so actually, and there's a part of me that is thankful that I did go through that. Um, and one of the hardest lessons I learned from, being in my second marriage now is very few people are really gonna ever truly love you in life. Um, when I was younger, I thought, I had these friends and acquaintances and coworkers and all that. And, I used to think, oh, they were my best friends and my drinking buddies. Oh, they're my buddies. They love me. We got each other's backs. But that's not true. There's very few people that are really going to stick around with you until the end, no matter what. And that, that includes relationships. Not all relationships, y'all, romantic relationships are going to last. I don't really think they're built to last for a long time while we're young, because we're still learning about ourselves, still trying to figure out our life and which way we're going. So, if you get married at a young age, it can really, it can be a little more stressful, but not for everybody. My parents, y'all, my mom and dad got married. She was 18 and he was, I think, 24 or 25. But she got married 6 days after she turned 18. And my mama says she would have got married before then, but my grandma wouldn't sign the papers for her to get married underage, so she had to wait. And, they've been together going on I think 35, 36 years. They've had a wonderful relationship, wonderful marriage, two kids. They have me and my brother, and they have two grandchildren and three step grandchildren now. So it worked out for them. But it's something about today's world. I feel like it's so different than what it was back then. Like with social media and dating apps, there's like so many options, it's just always out in front of you. And that's why I feel like there's a lot of unfaithfulness today than there used to be, because you can just get on your phone, all these dating apps, you can just get on there and you can do it in secret. And it's really twisted. So people always think the grass is greener, so they jump from relationship to relationship. They go through a patch of unhappiness, and then boom, they're gone. And that's what happened with my first marriage. And one of the lessons I learned, another lesson that I learned from that, was I was his first relationship ever. And that's one thing I tell people now. It may not be like that for every relationship, but do not marry someone if you are their very first boyfriend or very first girlfriend, whatever, because, that is just, to me, that is more than likely not going to work. And people told me that before I got married the first time, but I didn't want to listen. And, I didn't listen. I've always been very hard-headed, so I had to learn myself. Because me and him, we went through a patch of unhappiness for a little bit. We kind of just got a little stagnant, and, he young and wanted to go out and experience the world more, and boom, he was gone. There was no working on it. There was no wanting to try to fix it. He was just gone. And me, I was in a different mindset because he was not my first relationship. I had had a few long-term relationships before him, so I was willing to stay and work on it and fix it. It absolutely broke my heart when that happened, because I was not expecting him to do that, because I was not ever going to do that myself. That never even crossed my mind, so I didn't necessarily, I don't think I really expected that to cross his mind as well, which is why it came as such a shock, because I thought, the fact that we were married, we took vows, we lived together, I took his last name, everything. I thought that meant that we were going to be together forever, in my eyes at least. But forever, y'all, is never promised. I mean, I feel like some people go get married thinking it'll make your relationship better. It'll make your relationship stronger. It'll change things. No, it will not. It does not do that at all. You'll get the little happy feeling for a while after getting married. You're very proud of it, and you love to tell people, and but the newness of everything wears off, and getting married will do that as well. I'm a big believer in, when you do get married to someone, you very carefully need to think it through. You need to be sure of it. And, when things go haywire or things are not working out well, you need to try to fix it. You don't just walk away. Because it's a lot easier, y'all, to walk away, really, than it is to stay during certain situations. That's something that I've realized. But, if you're with the right person, they will sit and try to work it out with you. And, not everybody's going to be the right person for you. Just because you meet someone, y'all, and y'all have wonderful chemistry, you get along great, you love each other, y'all laugh all the time, you're best friends, that does not mean that it's going to last. Relationships, there is never a promise for tomorrow in them. There's not. And that's what I learned, the hard way when I went through my first divorce, was that there is no promise of tomorrow from anybody. The only person really, y'all, that you ever will have, and the only person that you ever will truly be able to rely on is yourself. It's not going to be on someone else. And I know, that kind of sounds cold, and that kind of sounds like almost lonely in a way, but I mean, it's true. I'm trying to explain this, but I'm having a hard time with it, because it is, in reality, you better than anybody else. Nobody else knows you better than you. And so therefore, you will have your back more than anyone else will. Yes, we do want someone to love us. We want to be loved. We want to find someone, to go do things with. Companionship is a wonderful, beautiful thing. Companionship is my favorite part of marriage. I actually really enjoy being married. Both times, I really do. Some people are not cut out for it. They don't like it. That's understandable, Scottish problems. But, I enjoy the companionship part of it. It's fun, and it really makes me happy. It does. It adds a lot to my happiness. But, there's just certain parts of it that it's not for everyone. There are some people that they have this mindset that once the new of something wears off, then they have to jump to the next thing. And if you want to be married and maintain a marriage and have a strong marriage, that's not going to work. You cannot have that mindset, because you will jump from person to person. And I realize that just because someone says I do, and you're standing at the altar and y'all get married, it does not mean that person is going to stay committed to you at all. They still have the capability to go out and do whatever they want, when they want, and how they want. It's hard to trust people, even though you want to so bad. Let's say like my husband now, I love him, he loves me. We took our vows, I trust him, but he still has the ability to go out and do something to hurt me if he wanted to. And moments like that, when situations like that, that's when you really have to rely on yourself. You have to be able to, learn to stand on your own 2 feet and to love yourself, and to really just take a step back and be like, well, I have me. That's all that matters. And you always need to make sure you take care of yourself. Don't ever sacrifice yourself for somebody 100%. Marriage is full of give and take, but don't get into one of those situations where you're always giving and giving and they're always taking and taking, because it will absolutely drain you and wear you the hell out. That's exactly what it done to me. And that is one of my biggest problems that I used to have in relationships. Most of my life was always giving too much. I gave. And then after my first marriage ended, I quit that shit. I stopped doing that. I started taking some too. Like, I didn't just give. I actually started taking in return. And there has to be a balance there. Taking is not wrong. Giving, to me, if you give constantly, that's worse than giving and then taking, like taking some at all. If you know what I mean. It's just, I don't know. It's just a mess, y'all, because when I was younger, I just would, I don't know, just completely abandon myself for somebody. And it was, and that was one of the main reasons why a lot of my relationships failed so much in my younger days. And that's one of the main reasons why my first marriage failed. You know, and I learned a lot of lessons from that first marriage, y'all, that I have taken into my second marriage. Things that I know now to do and things I know not to do. You know, and I could go on with that. There's a list there. And, you know, I'm thankful for what I went through with that divorce because, you know, I've met the person that I love now, and I know so many things and learned so many lessons from that last one that, you know, it kind of better prepares me to make this marriage stronger, healthier, and, you know, the potential to last a lot longer. So, guys, if y'all are around my age, 30 years old, and you've already been through 2 marriages, or either you're going through a rut in your marriage, or you're single and can't find anybody, you know, just give it time. Things absolutely will work out. When I went through my divorce, y'all, I thought my life was over. I thought it was the end of times, but it's not at all. Things always get better. They do. They always get better. You just got to make sure to stay positive and to focus on, you know, focus on yourself, focus on loving yourself and giving yourself the love and support that you need. And, you know, that's overall that is probably one of my biggest mottos of life, is to absolutely stand on your own 2 feet as much as you can, because you only have you, and you need to always make sure you have your own back, because, you know, people are not guaranteed to do that for you. So, guys, thank y'all so much for watching this video. I'll be back here probably in a couple days with something else. You know, leave some comments, some stuff y'all want me to talk about. If y'all, you know, got any nosy questions about my personal life, put those down there too. Follow me on Instagram, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see y'all shortly. Bye, guys.